Fire, 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 fire.
All right, what is this? It's finally over. Man, why'd you have to remind me that this game is real, man? I actually thought the first time we saw it, like in someone's video or we saw the trailer, I genuinely thought it was AI. Like, you know those like right-wing accounts that clearly make like fat chicks and they use AI to like make them run and like do stupid shit? What is this one about? I don't know yet. Let's watch it.
I can't believe nobody has noticed this yet. Maybe they have, they just haven't put all the pieces together yet. But after watching all of these live service games that we've just seen completely just wither and die and millions and billions just completely wasted, I think it's finally over, guys. Seriously. After watching all the game announcements that we had seen over the past couple of months, I realized that they were almost entirely devoid of live service games outside of the notorious few that we see every single year.
Yeah.
Call me crazy, but I think that these guys...
I think COD completely bombed. The skibbity toilet one. Destiny 2. It's sad. They really wanted to push Destiny 2 away and have Marathon the replacement. It's so depressing.
Guys have given up. Not all of it, obviously. I mean, there's still plenty of live service games that are out today that are still doing just fine. They're great live service games that you could be playing. Many of you guys are probably playing right now, and we're going to be talking about some of those to be able to contrast the good with the bad. But the live service, or the version of live service that these guys have been trying to chase over the past 10 years.
Pussy.
The idea that every single player is going to be a cash register and these guys are only one battle pass away from printing money, I think that that is dead. It's done.
I also think like them letting go a bunch of people at Xbox, and I think at Microsoft they're laying off a bunch of devs, including like Elder Scrolls Online, which it was kind of a huge cash cow shop. 600 people at Xbox. I think it should be more, to be honest with you.
It's gone and buried at this point. And it's their fault. They're the ones that did this. We don't have anything to do with it outside of just not playing those games in this case. But
oh, it was Obsidian? Yeah, good. Good.
These guys had a good thing, but they just couldn't get enough. No, instead, they had to strangle that golden goose for everything it was worth. Just give me another $1. They just had to continue to extend the track on the treadmill to ask for more time and more money and then flood this market with just so many games. But I think the real damage came from something that nobody was even aware of. These guys got exactly what they wanted. While they definitely, without a doubt, exhausted quite a lot of us, myself included, they trained people to be insatiable, to make it where no amount of content would ever satisfy.
And that's what I hate about fucking what they've done to MMOs and live service in general. There's always something to chase. MMOs used to be about being social. You'd get your dailies done, or you'd get the things done that you wanted to do. I even think dailies, honestly, to some extent, fucking suck. Like, having to do something, and then, like, if you don't do it, you're behind. I think that's bad, too. But, like, on top of the dailies, there's, like, a treadmill that you're constantly grinding. Yeah, you're not allowed to socialize. You're not allowed to just hang out. You have to be doing something, and I hate it.
Satisfy them. And by doing that, they essentially put the developers on a treadmill. And now this entire industry is getting skinny. We have seen a massive resurgence and focus into single-player games with stuff like Crimson Desert, Resident Evil 9, Pragmata. Hell, even Rockstar is out here having the confidence to invest over $1 billion into what is still, at its core, a single-player game with Grand Theft Auto 6. So imagine my surprise when I hop online and I find out that after going 1-12 with live service games, having the most high-profile live service failure in history and shutting down Destiny 2, PlayStation has somehow confirmed that they plan to revitalize the market with more live service games because they believe.
Was this before or after the announcement of no more fucking discs?
They are the future. And I thought that my first reaction would be, how have you not learned your lesson yet? But honestly, it just felt tone deaf because we just don't really hear that much about live service anymore. Not like we used to. It's kind of just become an afterthought, which got me thinking, live service is in a really weird place right now. Nearly every single live service game that comes to market either dies immediately or gets filtered down to a modest audience.
Because the market is already saturated. That's what I fucking hate about this shit. Instead of making like an honest, good game. They just want to sit on the cash cow. They want their own golden goose. They don't give a fuck if it's good or not.
Entrenched live service games that we once thought were invincible are now starting to lose their players. Some games have remained unchanged, and then somehow at the exact same time, we have Destiny 2 that just fell out of active development, but it's also reaching the healthiest place that it's been in for almost 2 years.
As opposed to Marathon, which is like, what, 5,000 players? Yeah, or like 3,000 players. It's just dying, man. They really, really killed Destiny 2 to kill Marathon.
2 years. And that brought me to a realization. The version of live service, the version of a successful live service game that we want is still very much alive. The version the industry wants is effectively dead. Now, I don't want to say that live service is flat out dead because that really wouldn't be accurate to say. Plenty of these games are still doing fine. Grand Theft Auto Online still dominates. Counter-Strike 2 and Dota 2 are still massive. Fortnite is not going anywhere anytime soon. And we're also seeing games like Path of Exile 2, Dead by Daylight, and Warframe grow, break records, or just keep raising their floor year after year. The most successful live service games that we're seeing right now are either maintaining, slightly declining, or growing slowly over time. Not explosively, methodically, incrementally, brick by brick in most cases. But the one thing that almost all these games also have in common is time. If you guys actually go down the list of the biggest live service games that are out right now, nearly every single one of them came out between 2012 in 2017.
Yeah, they bought their time. Yeah, like DBD didn't like instantly pop the fuck off, but then, you know, on the other hand, Dead by Daylight was also a fucking indie game. Like, yeah, they had some games that came out before that, but like they really struck gold on accident, and I really do mean it. They did not intend the game to blow up.
A few outliers, Path of Exile 2 being one of them, but that's really just an extension of their previous game, which is still killing it even today. The ones
but you can say the same thing about PoE too, because PoE, not PoE 2 as in the number 2, but like as well, PoE was an answer to people that hated Diablo 3. They said, okay, so Diablo 2 was awesome, but we want our own game. They took inspiration, they made their own thing, and they made something that was really enjoyable, and it slowly grew a fan base.
Came out after that, for the most part, man, it is a graveyard. I took the time to really look into this, and honestly, man, I think the numbers would shock a lot of people. The estimate is not going to be completely bulletproof, because I'm also going to be counting in games that are considered anything live service, so whether that's a gacha game or a first-person shooter, but I found that roughly 160 live service games are either on live support, actively failing, canceled, or completely dead, just from the past 5
How many?
years. And most of them are dead. We're talking about billions of dollars being lit on fire, and most of these games weren't even high-profile failures. Hell, most of you guys wouldn't even know what half of these games even were.
This is what I'm kind of, honestly, I'm gonna say, be really cynical. I don't think there's gonna be a WoW like killer. I don't think people have the investment, and now that the corpos have been burned so many times by live service investments, they're not gonna want to put in money into it. Like New World flopped. WoW's the WoW killer? Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. Riot MMO, I don't have faith in that too, because it's been in development forever, and like a bunch of people are leaving and joining and leaving and joining during development, which is a really terrible sign in my opinion. What about Guild Wars 3? I already gave my opinion. I don't think Guild Wars 3 is gonna be anything fucking mind-blowing, dude. Especially from the fucking trailer. What about Light No Fire? The fact that I don't know what that is says a lot.
Spellcaster Chronicles from Quantic Dream, Last Flag from the band Imagine Dragons for whatever reason. Wildgate got shut down the other day, and I had never even heard of it. And yeah, it's going to be easy to point out some of the individual problems with each one of these games. Bad marketing, bad concept, terrible character design, whatever it might be. And some of that stuff is true and well worth calling out when it is, but part of this is honestly just saturation. Over 19,000 games released on Steam alone in 2025. It's not exactly surprising that some of these games just flat out disappear. A 2025 survey showed that 60% of players only buy 1 or 2 games a year, and only 14%.
Yeah, because they're fucking poor. Fuck.
Actually buy once a month.
Why.
That's 12 out of 19,000 games for the people that are buying the most games. That is like a 0.06% odds. You have better odds pulling a 5-star in a gacha game than you do getting somebody to play yours. And live service only makes that problem even worse because these games aren't just fighting for a single sale. They're fighting for a routine, time, attention, habit.
Well, there's also the sunk cost fallacy of playing a live service game. People will not want to quit something that they put like tens of thousands of hours into, like, playing the game.
There's only so much of that to be able to go around, and every single new
it has to be extremely compelling
live service game that enters into the market is just lowering that ceiling for everybody else. This has always been my biggest criticism against PlayStation wanting to release 12 live service games in just 3.
That's fucking retarded. Whoever said this is a fucking retard. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Years, because even if those games were good, they would just end up cannibalizing all the other games that they release. So yes,
not a decade, a year. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Saturation is definitely going to be part of it. There are just too many games, too many live service games.
Did you watch the video about the Blizzard court case? What, the one where they're suing a private server? No, they're gonna get sued, the server's gonna die, and then Blizzard's gonna take that and make Classic Plus. What? Wow, I just watched the video for you. You're welcome.
Too many demands for people's time and just not enough players and time to be able to go around to give everything a chance. But I don't think that's the whole story. There is something else driving this, and I just don't think that people have realized it yet. I mean, look at the 4 most popular live service games that have been released in the past couple of years. You got Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, Battlefield 6, and Arc Raiders. All of them found...
Yeah, and Arc Raiders was filling the niche of Tarkov until they kind of shit the bed. Again, I didn't play the game, so I don't know what happened, but a lot of people left playing games that they really enjoyed to go play Arc. Or Arc Raiders, I should say, because Arc is a different game.
Incredible success early on, and all of them lost 85% or more of their peak within 4 to 6 months. Now, I'm not saying that these games are bad or down and out. Hell, I'm not even saying that their current numbers are necessarily bad, save for Battlefield 6 in this case. Those guys definitely need to pick that up, but it's really hard to ignore a drop-off this massive, especially when these games are supposed to be forever games and they're being made to be temporary almost immediately.
Just milking the cash cow and throwing away the carcass when it's all dead.
I think what's happening is the player bases are lapping these developers. Demand is now outstripping supply, at least contextually, which kind of sounds absurd to say out loud because there's just tons of games to play. There's hundreds, if not thousands of hours of content. And I'll admit to you that I've been brushing it off every single time I hear anybody complain about how these games just simply do not have enough to do. But when you zoom out, these games...
I disagree. I think there's too much to fucking do. It's overwhelming.
Are getting absolutely devoured. They hit the market, dominate conversation for a few months, fall out of popularity, and then struggle to ever reclaim that first wave of attention. And there's a lot of causes here. Part of it is severe mismanagement. Arc Raiders not handling cheaters, Battlefield giving way too much attention to a battle royale, Marvel Rivals having algorithmic matchmaking issues, Helldivers 2 running into mismatched audience expectations and technical problems. Part of this is also just social media, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, whatever else. Content creators have the time and more.
I think the funniest part, there was that drama with the mods inside of the Discord of Helldivers. That was another really funny bit that was like, I think it did contribute a little bit to like people not wanting to play the game anymore.
Importantly, have made
not saying like obviously like the game itself obviously fell off, but that was so funny. Yeah, the furry one that was like freaking out.
An entire career out of
they keep nerfing stuff. I think nerfing is bad. I've always had this philosophy. You don't want to ever nerf something to like be down at everyone's level. You want to buff the things that suck. I've always had this opinion. That's why I hate it when, like, for example, in League of Legends, there's so many instances of how many champions they have in the pool, and there's just some champions that literally just don't get played. Because they aren't good, and then they like buff them a little bit, but they won't buff them enough to be good enough for to compete with other characters. It's the same shit with obviously other games and different dynamics.
An absurd rate, so all the content that you see makes it feel like the game doesn't have enough, and then those creators move on to the next thing, and suddenly the game feels old before most normal players are even done with it. But I think the real issue is that these studios simply just cannot keep up with the appetite anymore. Most of the people that are playing these games are coming from already established live service games with years of content, years of habits, and years of chasing a carrot on a stick.
That's too.
Publishers
You have to be exceptional to tear them away. Why do you think back in Shadowlands when that came out for World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy blew up because they actually had a competition and they actually did a good job of capturing an audience that was sick of what they were doing to World of Warcraft. So they moved on. They clearly did something right, no? It took them a while to catch up too. Like, freaking Final Fantasy came out in what, like 2013, 2012? Not the original, but like the rework. Yeah, like it took a long time. It took like years, but finally they caught up and they actually captured an audience. Final Fantasy fell so hard. They did. I know that a lot of people are criticizing it and the game's not super duper fun and the writing really blows in Dawn Trail, but I think they could still recover if they just learn from their fucking mistakes.
Spent years extending that track more and more aggressively year over year, not only just to keep those players locked in, but also to drain their wallets as much as they could. And it's created this inverse effect. The games have lost their quality because the pace quickened, the monetization became too much to bear, and then players got exhausted and started leaving. But the audience that stayed had its appetite adjusted. Even some of the players that had left, just the same. This is not some random change in player behavior. This is what the industry spent 10 years trying to train people to do. So now a lot of these new live service games are waking up to basically the worst audience possible. Hell, every single live service game is. All these audiences are trained to expect endless content, endless rewards, endless updates, and endless reasons to keep logging in, while also still being eyed by the most cynical audiences that have been pushed out of live service games. You have one dejected...
I think you're catering to like the top 10 neat percent and not taking into account what like a casual player wants. I think that's the like core essence of live service games. They constantly cater to the top 5 or 10% of players that just want to constantly play the game and they have no life. Which again, I used to be one. I used to play WoW and other games all the fucking time. I had so much free time, but like there comes a point where you have to like play the game and it's fun and it's not like a fucking chore.
Audience, that you have an audience that's just way too hungry for you to be able to keep up with.
Because you know what's fucked up is like even the sweats still played old WoW. Like in 2004 and between 2004 and 2009 or 2010, there was a time where casuals, hardcore, the elitists, the noobs, they all played the same game and nobody fucking cared. Because the devs played the game too, and they would make the game fun for themselves, and that was like the secondary. The secondary was the players. They didn't discount people's opinions. Like, obviously, you're gonna listen to little Timmy crying on the forums, and also the elitist, I don't know, Eric, right? But you're going to cater first to making the game good, rather than what the fucking top 10 and the bottom 10% want.
That Arc Raiders is probably the game that I noticed this happen the most with. I absolutely love that game. I thought it was incredible. I had so much fun playing it with my friends, but I'm also in the camp of players that gets exhausted by live service games relatively quickly, and I hit a point where I felt like I had done enough, and
it's not about being fucking old, because your dad still really, really loved playing games that were really fun. He would make time for them. It's not the fucking same.
Just walked
I hate
away,
that
but
logic.
as I'd walked away, I was
Not
still
that he's
watching
saying
people
it,
play it,
but-
and I started to realize that while Arc Raiders had its issues, its biggest problem was that they just weren't prepared for the kind of popularity that they had received, and they just didn't have enough content to be able to sate the audience that was playing their game, because they were playing it every single day, all the time, every single chance they could get. They didn't have the plans or the infrastructure to be able to capitalize on it.
Is that really their fault, though? Like, it is an indie game after all.
And I'm not even sure that they should even try to do that, because at a certain point, chasing that
blew
kind of
up. They
audience
really
would
did.
almost certainly come at the cost of the updates
Double
themselves,
A?
because you're
Well,
trying to
whatever,
push
it's
them out
not
faster,
a
which means they're
Sony
going to be
game.
at a lower quality. Looking at their initial roadmap, a new map, and an expedition to sink resources into, a couple new enemies, and some weather conditions every couple of months or so is not going to be...
Is it really a problem, though? Well, yeah, people are complaining that there's nothing to do. They're overwhelmed.
enough to bring people back, or even to keep them playing for very long. Not with the kind of audience that they suddenly had. To be able to keep that initial flame alive, every update would have had to be...
Because if you're playing an extraction shooter, you're already catering to a very niche audience, and a lot of them are hardcore gamers.
more drastic than the last. Effectively
Yeah.
a new game every single time they updated the game. Bigger changes to the map, bigger changes to their objectives, crafting, engagements, progression, everything. At that point, you're not supporting the game anymore. You're just feeding a machine.
Yeah.
This is
A
completely
money
the fault
machine,
of the
money
industry.
making.
These games are being devoured at a record pace. Now, I know this is going to resonate with a lot of you guys, but rewind the clock back a few years, and whether it was fighting games, first-person shooters, hell, even MMOs, even the most successful MMOs that we see today are still basically the same. There's a little bit...
I don't know. Maybe 5 years ago, yeah, but 10, no. No, 10 years ago, it was not the same as now.
more pace to their updates, but still, we used to be able to have these games as daily drivers, and we would be completely fine without seeing any content added to these games. Obviously, map packs and expansions would later extend the life of those games, but after that, over time, it just became faster and faster. More money, more content, more money, more content, and while you're going to end up losing some players along the way, guys like me that just get exhausted by it, eventually that audience is going to start to adapt to those games and the size of those games. And once they do, well, now it's a problem for the industry itself. It's the problem you've created for your own games in a lot of cases. What's happening here is that these games simply just don't have enough content anymore to actually be able to sate anybody. And none of that content is good when they do, or when they are able to fill that need, because they're putting it out so fast that, well, it's not really worth much of anything. And when these games come in and they just flood the market with even more of these games, well, now the players are in a position where they can go and play one of those new games. They can go fill
It's
that need somewhere else.
oversaturated.
And then the
How many of you, I don't know how much of my audience plays gacha games, but do you ever get fucking tired of having too many gacha games to play? You're logging in, doing all your fucking dailies. You're exhausted. You don't want to fucking do it anymore. Oh, if you've never played an MMO, it's like that. It is literally like that at a certain point. There was a time when I played 6. Well, you know what I'm saying though? Like, there's so many things to do, and then you get exhausted. Excuse me.
might maybe circle back to yours. In most cases, they never do. And the only way that you're going to
That's
bring
how
those
an
players
MMO
back
is
is by
now.
raising the bar to an impossible level. And at that point, it's already over. You know, I think back to the days of like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. And this is usually, or not usually, this is actually still today how a lot of these games run. Even Final Fantasy is the same way. Look at how long those games have been going. Their expansions are basically what, you know, every 2 years or something like that. Well, they do have some updates in between there.
And also Microsoft pushed World of Warcraft to make expansions and updates even faster, and it is noticeable. People never used to bitch about patches and updates on World of Warcraft until I think they started pushing this shit out in the last 5 years. It's so bad.
It's usually staggered out quite a lot. Those games, you know, there's already a lot to do to begin with, but still at the same time, there's something about that slower pace that kept those games alive for as long as they've been alive. And while they've definitely lost popularity over the years, they're still a hell of a lot more healthier than a lot of the games that are already dead and buried at this point. So, you know, honestly, live surface gold rush was the right terminology the entire time. These guys came in, they dug everything out, they hollowed out the ground, and they have nothing left to fill it with. It was always destined for failure. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy of greed in this case, and it was always going to collapse in on itself. But you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that success doesn't exist in live service. It very much does. And I think that the games that are going to find the most success and the games that are finding the most success aren't the games that are exploding immediately to these massive player numbers and trying
like
to hold on to
PoE.
them.
Yeah.
No, it's the ones that start off small and then build themselves out.
Even Fortnite had this happen. It didn't instantly explode. Yeah, it took a little bit. It took like, I don't know, probably like a year or two for them to like really take off.
Brick by brick. When I
Now
look
it's
at all the live
it's an unstoppable fucking monster. Now everybody wants to be fucking Fortnite.
service games that are still around and a lot of the
They wanna
ones that
be
have come
epic
and gone. I think
games.
the most successful version of live service isn't the game that explodes to hundreds of thousands of players or even millions of players and then tries to flood them with as much content as possible. It's the games that never aim to be big, start small, build slowly, and then set the right appetite from the beginning. And the best, and honestly, probably the most fascinating example of all of this is actually Warframe. Now, Warframe is not the most popular game. It has had its moments of wild popularity, but its life is basically the inverse of nearly every...
I think Warframe has too much stuff going on, in my personal opinion. It's just a different flavor of MMO. It's just WoW, but like a different theme. There's way too much stuff going on. Like, people are like, oh, Lana, you like Warframe. I'm like, if I wanted to play Warframe, I'd go play WoW. Like, it's just the same shit in a different coat of paint. You probably grew up with it and you think it's awesome, just like I used to think a WoW was awesome, but like, it's just the same crap. Sorry, it's probably not a terrible game, but it's just the same shit.
Every live service game in all of existence.
Yeah.
Most of these games explode, plateau, and then decline. Warframe started out modestly, and then for now over a decade, the game has just continued to raise its floor year over year. And it did that by effectively doing the exact opposite of everybody else in the industry.
That's good.
Warframe has updates and expansions, but all that content is completely free. It doesn't expire, and more importantly, it all remains relevant. It has a battle pass, but the battle pass is completely free. It has microtransactions for cosmetics, materials, weapons, even the Warframes themselves. You can buy anything.
That's actually one thing that they're doing fucking correctly, is it's the game is free, right? The game is free, so like microtransactions make sense. World of Warcraft is fucking $15 a month plus expansion, and these motherfuckers have the audacity to charge you money for this shit. Yeah, because they want to milk your freaking pee-pee.
You want it in the game, but all of it, if not most of it, is completely earnable in the game just by playing it. Or if you want to, you can get it through their player-driven economy, which you also get through just by playing the game. The point is that Warframe is almost entirely stripped of FOMO. The carrot isn't on a stick; it's handed to you, and then you choose when you want to eat it or when you want another one. I cannot tell you guys how inviting and comfortable of a feeling that is. It's almost familiar in a way, like single or multiplayer games from like a decade ago, where you still get to share the experience with everybody else, but you get to take it at your own pace. And more importantly, in this case, well, the developers get to take it at their own pace too. Digital Extremes is a very strict, whenever it's ready approach to their updates. There's no hard roadmaps, no hard dates that they set. It's just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. They usually have an idea of when they want to get something out, but they don't rush themselves to
Have you ever played it? No, it's just not for me. I watched Silver Veil play it. It's just not for me.
Specific deadline, because they recognize that's unfair to both themselves and the players. And while Warframe has had plenty of issues with updates in the past, and not every single update's going to be a hit, their consistency with aiming for quality over speed and quantity has conditioned their audience to be more patient, more casual, and more excited when new content finally does drop, giving these guys something to actually look forward to. I've been playing a lot of Destiny recently after its final update, and now that there isn't a clear future for the game, or even if the future is that it's actually just over.
It's so funny how Destiny's been around for like fucking 15 years, I think, right? Like it came out like around what, Kata? Maybe like a little bit after Kata? No, it was like Mop. I can't remember. I think it was between Kata and Mop. Since 2014. Okay, yeah. So it was basically Mop. And I remember people are so hyped. It was awesome. That game's been around for 12 fucking years and is doing better than fucking Marathon. Because nobody wants to play that dog shit ass game.
It has honestly been the most fun that I've had with Destiny in a long time. There is so much content to play, and I'm in no rush to complete it. I'm not holding my friends back by not being able to be online every single day, and we're just kind of just having fun.
God, it fucking pisses me the fuck off, the anxiety that I used to get of like, my friends are doing Mythic Plus without me. They're doing a raid without me. I'm gonna be behind. I fucking hated that. At least in Classic, like if you got a really good fucking piece of gear, that piece of gear would last you probably like a fucking phase or two, sometimes even 3 if it's a really good piece of gear. And you don't have to fucking worry about that. Like in retail, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be behind, they're doing more than me, and then when they're done grinding, then they're not gonna play with me anymore. Like, oh my god, I hated that feeling.
With it, and I think a lot of people feel the exact same way. It's why the game, without any new content being added, is averaging the highest player numbers it's seen in almost 2 years. And it makes me think that Destiny should have been a lot more like Warframe, not in a literal sense, but in a sense that the objective should have never been speed, profit, and a strict schedule. It should have been quality, efficiency, and just
well, that and not taking away people's fucking money and taking away content that they paid for without giving them a fucking refund. That probably would have been pretty nice, because I remember I watched a video that talked about it, and I have no horse in like the race of Destiny 2. And I remember how upset this guy was, and I was like upset on his behalf. Like, they just poofed it. They poofed it. They took their money.
Trying to do something
I'd
cool.
be so
I had a
pissed.
talk with Asdacross, one of the biggest content creators for Destiny, and he was talking about how there were all these things that players had asked for, and how Monument of Triumph showed that the company was listening to them, and how hard it was to get certain things greenlit. He was talking about some horror stories from some of the developers, and I came to this realization in that discussion that these teams that are built to optimize for speed and monetization cannot fix the things that players actually need fixed, and they can't add the things that players actually want. Not because the developers don't care, but because the business itself is just not built for it anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, something as simple
they're
as
not allowing the. They're just not.
setting up a test dummy still takes developers, designers, artists, engineers, and sound designers, and also, more importantly, time. And that's all going to cost these guys money. So management is going to ask these guys, well, what kind of return are we going to get on this when we should have these people working on monetizable?
The management was awful for Destiny. Blizzard had the exact same problem. When the suits came in, the management changed. They still had the presidents, but the presidents can only do so much to protect the employees. Eventually, people are gonna leave. They'll be like, I can't do this anymore. And you know what's sad? And then people say like, oh, well, the devs just want more money and like they can't give it to them. In World of Warcraft, I don't think devs actually got paid an insane amount of money. Even from the get-go, even when the game started succeeding, people stayed there knowing that they wouldn't get paid like a lot of money, but it was the privilege of working at Blizzard. And I'm sure to an extent this was the same thing with Destiny and with Halo and like a bunch of other giants, right? Like it was like you were taking the hit of working for something that you're super passionate about, you don't care. But now, I think the problem is that there's people still left in the industry that still think Blizzard is like this amazing, can't do anything wrong, like amazing fucking company that's just like almost like Disney to an extent. Like people think it's magical, like you work there, right? But the issue is that it's just not the same anymore. They don't have the people, they don't have the magic. It's just a fucking machine.
Content instead. And while these companies do understand that goodwill has
sure
value,
people at
they
Destiny
can't put
felt
that
the
on a
same way,
spreadsheet.
too.
So oftentimes they just throw it on the back burner or they just forget about it entirely. And the faster and more aggressive that these games get, well, the faster they fall apart because they no longer have the
used to be
time
the same
to be able
thing.
to support them properly, maintain their balance, and build things that people actually want to be able to make those players stay, which kind of brings us up to another issue. One of the reasons why these live service games won't slow down even though they need to is because, well, slowing down is antithetical to their own goals.
Yeah.
They want player numbers to be as high and as
I will never forget in Shadowlands, which dropped around about like right before COVID. And I remember they were already having problems pumping out the expansion because they got acquired by Microsoft. And the next expansion has to come out. They start putting out deadlines, and they're like, we can't fucking do this. We're going to die. Like, not literally, like, more like metaphysically or mentally, but it's like, you're going to kill us. Stop making us do this. We're not making the content you want. We can't keep up with the schedule. And then, like, what, like 3 to 4 years later, there's a game dev interview or something that comes out, and they're like, hey, so we bit off more than we could chew. We're really sorry. Our scheduling is really bad, and the patches coming out are getting worse and worse technically because there's more and more bugs every single time we release a new fucking cap of content. And all the player base is like, what the fuck, man? Like, why did you do this? Like, nobody asked for this. Just make something good. And, you know, it's just like this blind PR rhetoric of like trying to appease the players, but then like at a certain point those people are gonna get fucking sick of it. You can see it on Twitter. If you actually are on like MMO algorithm WoW Twitter, people are gonna get fucking sick of it.
as possible. So they want to reach
Destiny
every
moment,
single
dude, it's
player they
with every
possibly can, while
MMO.
also keeping them on that track
It's every
forever. And they
MMO,
try to
man.
accomplish this. They try to accomplish both. And because they do that, well, it will never work. One of the biggest strengths of games like Warframe or Path of Exile is that they obviously want their games to be popular and they want to make revenue. They need revenue, but they're comfortable with just focusing on the audience that they already have. They don't overextend. And more importantly, well, they are okay with their players leaving and taking a break. Warframe bucks nearly.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. I remember this too. In Legion, they were talking about MSUs or MAUs, which is a term used by corpos to gauge how many people are playing per month. And they were like, yeah, we're hitting the target, the target number for World of Warcraft this month, and for the next 3 months, we're gonna be pumping out content. And I'm like, why can't I just be done with a fucking game without someone corporatizing me and putting me into like a fucking slot? Like I'm just a fucking number to you. I'm like a McDonald's customer. Like I'm the 1 millionth customer this month type shit. I hate it. I hate it for any video game. It just makes me realize that I'm not a person that's enjoying your product, because you are enjoying a product. You're just another fucking number, and they want to milk your freaking wallet.
Every single modern trend out there. It is such a weird game, but they just fixate on their core audience and what their core audience wants. And while that naturally separates them from wider audiences, the people that do like the game absolutely love it. And that's where a lot of these recent live service games have been going wrong. The same problem that we've talked about with single player games as well is that
they never even want you to just take a break and do something else. They constantly want you on the game. And I think Final Fantasy unironically did a really good job of that up until a certain point. I don't know about now, but people always praised it that you could be done with the content and then just like chill. And that's what World of Warcraft was like. It was like Final Fantasy. It was. You just do your content, you did your stuff, and then you're just done. You're done with it. You can just go socialize or log off and play something else. You're not constantly on the game. Final Fantasy is still like that? I don't know. I've heard people bitching and saying that they've been kind of leaning into like keeping you on the treadmill. Just not as hard as WoW, obviously, but like it's kind of depressing because it's like I don't want that same fate to happen to other games.
These guys go an ocean wide and an inch deep. They're afraid to just fully lean into one audience because, well, they don't want to lose another audience that they could have had, and maybe they want to get that audience later. Arc Raiders, I think, is probably like the best example of this. They ended up trapped between two audiences. On one side, they had the PvE crowd that honestly just wanted to cooperatively play with other players and be nice with everybody. And on the other hand, they had a hardcore PvP audience that just wanted to shoot on sight. And while they made matchmaking changes to try to appease both sides, ultimately, the game itself could never actually support both of those people or both of those kind of players long term, because at a certain point, you kind of have to decide what this game is.
Extraction shooter's too hardcore, it's too niche. You should have catered to the hardcore players. You're already shoehorning yourself. You can't cater to the casuals. I know I just said like you have to have both in a video game, but like an extraction shooter isn't an MMO. An MMO is noob friendly and it has nuance and depth to it. If you like, that's why Tarkov is still so consistent, and like other extraction shooters like it are so consistent in the player base. They're extremely loyal. They love their little autistic extraction shooting. They love losing, and it is what it is, and they love it and they hate it at the same time. But you can't cater to casuals and be like, we're gonna push PvE, we're gonna push and do both. It's like, you can't. MMOs are noob friendly? Yeah, they should be. Yeah, I know this is gonna be mind-blowing, but yes, MMOs have to be noob friendly, otherwise you don't have people to play with. I know.
When you build an update around trying to hold on to everyone and reach every single audience you possibly can, instead of just leaning into the people who actually love what you made, you end up giving your game an identity crisis. And honestly, you make it impossible to support.
That's exactly right.
Path of Exile probably has the best approach here. When I interviewed Jonathan Rogers, the head of Grinding Gear Games, he had said that every single time they do an update, it nearly gives the guy a heart attack. But he recognizes, and the whole team recognizes, that players need to take a break. These guys are completely fine with their game tanking for a couple of months. They're not scrambling to keep every single person in the game forever. They have a schedule. They're trying to push their updates when they can, but they're not going to lose their minds over every player who leaves for a few months. And because of that, they just focus on making better updates instead of faster ones. They're aiming not to keep every single player, but instead to aim to make an update that brings more people back to the game every single time. And I think that's the right way to do things. This entire version of live service that the industry built around all these massive games that were holding on to these massive player counts forever just isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable for the players, and it's definitely not sustainable for the developers.
And it's funny, when Blizzard was releasing back in the day, when they released what is it called, player counts, and there were like obviously like little dips and stuff, but I think it was actually kind of like a mistake to release those numbers. I'm not gonna lie. You can't do that, especially when you're like owned by a massive corpo, because they're going to expect those numbers constantly. There are going to be dips and lulls in a video game. It's just about consistency.
And the wider the audience they try to reach, the more players they try to hold on to, the less these games actually end up being made for the people that are actually playing them, because, well, you just can't keep that many people forever without eventually...
Blizzard did it to Flags? No, it wasn't to Flags. I'm sure it was nice to know that there were millions of people playing, but like, realistically, it's for the corpos, for the corporations. Yeah, because those get publicly released because they're making money. They need to know how much money they're making, how much money back they're making.
Breaking the game. So I don't think that live service is completely dead. I just think the version of live service that this industry has been chasing is actually dead.
This thing looks cool.
Because, well, the successful live service is still very much alive. We can see it here today. We can see it out in a ton of different games. The problem is that that kind of live service takes a lot more effort, a lot more time, and a lot more care than a lot of these companies wanted to give.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest,
it costs a lot of money to maintain MMOs or like live service in general.
Honest, I didn't actually take any notice of this until more recently, when I had seen that like live service games, or more importantly, like first-person shooters, have just completely fallen out of like YouTube algorithms and like Twitch and stuff like that. Well, these guys still have like a few people that are still watching them, and I think there's still some guys that are like, you know, Summit and Shroud and Peanut and a few other people that are still getting...
Oh, Peanut doesn't even play Arc Raiders anymore, right? And Summit.
You know, big numbers and stuff like that, and doing
really well. I think they quit, didn't they?
Largely, that space is kind of just dissipated over the years, and it's just not as attractive as it used to be. And I kind of got thinking about it as like, man, like, is live service just completely falling off at this point? You know, I think what all this means is that these developers just need to surrender to the idea that you're just not going to hold on to all these players forever. They're just way too many games, man. Way too many games. There's so much for us to be able to do that eventually your player counts are going to fall. And when you struggle and you flail to try to hold on to everybody, the only thing you're going to do is hurt your game. That's all that's going to happen, because the content itself is just going to end up lacking quality and a legit direction to go in. I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of these games, a lack of identity in a lot of cases. And the other thing is, and this is probably the biggest one, to be honest with you, stop aiming for the masses. Stop aiming for these massive audiences. Find a niche and then just solo into it as hard as you possibly can. Look at games like Counter-Strike or
That's why WoW really fell far from grace too. I think that it's like a multiplicative effect, because World of Warcraft was created for a casual audience that ran away from EverQuest, because EverQuest is still really popular for like a fucking 30-year-old game. I think EverQuest came out in like 1995 or some shit, right? 1999 maybe. But my point is like, boomers still play EverQuest, and the reason World of Warcraft was even invented, or like people even talked about World of Warcraft, is that those people that made WoW came from EverQuest, a vast majority. WoW was for nerds. It wasn't even that. No, I don't think you're understanding my point. Is that like the multiplicative of like, yes, WoW was in general for everybody, and it was for nerds, but it was for everybody that was a nerd that loved to play video games. Is that EverQuest was too difficult, and they definitely dumbed it down. Now that they're like basically making it for everybody and nobody at the same time. At the start, WoW was casual, yes, and eventually they're like, oh well, I think it was around about like Kata or like Wrath, maybe towards the end of Wrath. No, I think it was Kata. Kata heroic dungeons were fucking brutal, and I remember a lot of people quit to go play Wildstar, and then that died. But Kata dungeons were so fucking hard, and the raids were super duper fucking hard. I think that's when they started making it towards like harder content. Yeah, and a lot of people quit.
Frame or Path of Exile, these games didn't get huge or didn't get bigger by widening themselves and chasing every single trend under the sun. They're not using extraction shooters. They're not using any of that kind of stuff. They
Gorlock or some shit.
Got better at beating themselves. And because of that, well, the audiences that they already had loved the game and just rave about the game. And eventually they start attracting other people in. That's what happened with me in Path of Exile. I just could not stop hearing about people telling me how much better it was than Diablo. And eventually I gave the game a shot. And sure enough, it's a lot better than Diablo.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more interesting. Sunwell First Trash Group used to wipe entire raid teams in seconds. Yeah, because people were fucking bad. That's why. That's when the game was out for like 3 to 4 years. That's why people wiped on Sunwell. People were fucking. It was overtuned, sure, but like overall, it was not hard. The bosses and the fucking mob trash had maybe 1 to 2 mechanics. Now, a boss fight has like fucking 15 mechanics and then like 20 mechanics on Mythic. That's the problem. People don't want to fucking do it anymore. They're tired and it's the same shit all the time. What is it? Lich King has like what? He has the sections, he has the freezes, he has the push off. Like that was already really hard for like not bad players, but like for the average player. I think if you go over like 5 to 6, maybe even 7 mechanics, fuck. I think that's when you start to make it difficult for like the vast majority, like the casual players.
But you know, I'd actually go to say that I think that the wild successes that we've seen with some of these live service games specifically over the past couple of years might actually be to their detriment. It actually might be the worst thing that happens to these guys, because if you start out small and build slow, continuing to build an audience update after update, well,
people just want explosive growth, and that's just not realistic. People think these fucking corpos think that everybody's Fortnite, everybody's WoW. WoW was a sensational fucking lightning in a bottle moment. I don't think anybody's even recreated it. I don't think even fucking Fortnite recreated what it was in terms of like popularity.
Well, like you actually have room to grow in that case, right? That's what you've seen with some of these games. I think even like No Man's Sky is a really good example of that. Well, that obviously has like a big comeback story. At the exact same time, they started off small, had a really dedicated core community, and then the game just continued to get bigger and bigger
was
with
like
each
that.
Update, and how happy the fan base was. And
Fortnite did? No, it did not. Fortnite did not. Fortnite 100% overdid that? No, you don't understand. You don't understand without me talking about it and trying to prove you wrong. Fortnite didn't start off as a mega success in the first, like, 3 months of launch. It didn't. World of Warcraft blew the fuck up to the point where they literally couldn't play the game. That's what I mean. I'm not saying it didn't succeed. I think Fortnite is one of the most popular, most amazing games that, and I know people are gonna be like, oh no, Alana, you're just saying that. No, it actually is a really good game. I meant that Fortnite had to work itself up. I think that World of Warcraft struck gold in just being there when it happened and being a good game. I understand you saying from the start. Okay, well, yeah, maybe I had to reiterate myself. But what I was trying to say is that Fortnite grew in success gradually. WoW, Blizzard, was already an established company, and people expected it to be good because Blizzard's polish was already amazing at that point. They already had Diablo 2, they had StarCraft, they had, Diablo 2, StarCraft, Warcraft. Like, they already had insanely successful games, so they already were ahead of Epic Games or whoever the fuck made Fortnite initially. I don't remember, but you know what I mean? Yeah, it started off as being like a game that was just for fun for Fortnite, and then it blew up.
Etc. It just kind of spread like wildfire in that case. And I think you see that with a lot of these other games. But if you start at the top, well, what's your next destination? It's definitely not going to be the top. You're going down. And then what ends up happening is you start seeing the dead game paradox kick in.
No, number go down. My millions of dollars invested at freaking sloppy Blizzard PP. No, that's bad.
Where all of a sudden everybody else just starts leaving because they see other people that are leaving. So they don't want to waste their time. They don't want to invest their time in a game they think is probably going to die. So they just pack up their bags and move on to the next one.
Yep.
I think the picture of what live service or what live service success looks like is completely changed over the years. And maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's always been the same, but these guys just try to build a completely different one. But this idea that they're going to make this game that's going to like instantly blow up and just turn out millions of dollars every single week.
It's not.
It's just not going to happen anymore.
It didn't even happen with the most amazing games. It's just not fucking possible. Like, even Blizzard, they had sucky games that people didn't play, and then, like, they hit gold, and then they hit gold again, and then they hit their big golden goose with WoW. And then they built off of that to make other games, obviously. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, people don't understand gaming history, and it pisses me off. Not from, like, lack of ignorance, because some people just don't know, but, like, these corpos are supposed to know so that they can make money, and they just don't fucking use their brain. That's what pisses me off. Where's Heroes of the Storm now? You know what's fucking funny? I'm gonna say it. I think Heroes of the Storm could have been an amazing game, but they didn't have the money that they wanted, so they fucking killed it. They invested so much money into the esports side when it could have been the perfect casual MOBA. And I stand by that. I think it was the perfect baby's first MOBA game. League is too hard. It really is. Like, at least fucking League at the start was really easy because it was, like, basic and it was supposed to be, like, an answer to Dota, which it was. It was a far easier Dota. But it was such a good game for, like, a friend. Say you have a friend that doesn't know how to fucking play a MOBA, and you say, okay, we're not gonna play League, we're not gonna play Dota, we're not gonna play Han, we're gonna launch up Heroes of the Storm, and it's literally babies. You know, you have little talent points, and you have, like, 3 abilities, and its 4th ability is, like, super big, and it's on a short cooldown. Like, it doesn't matter. Mana doesn't even fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they killed it because they invested a bunch of money into the esports. They killed that, and then they said, oh, whoopsies, we ran out of money. Now we're gonna kill the game, and it's on permanent graveyard duty. It's like, it's so fucking embarrassing. It makes me so sad. And by the way, I can say this too because I love Dota and I loved League at some point a lot, like to death. And I really liked Heroes of the Storm. I think it had an amazing place for like casual gaming where you could make friends and bring friends in to like enjoy a game, even if like MOBAs didn't, even if they weren't into MOBAs.
The version that is successful is slow and steady. I think that's the way to win the race in this case, but that's not what these guys want. Because it's not nearly as.
Am I talking about gotchas? Are you okay?
Attractive.
I ain't talking about gotchas.
Be able to sell it to shareholders, and honestly, it's probably going to scare a lot of these guys off.
Genshin's is by Hoyo Universe. It's fucking got millions of dollars.
Anyway, tell me what you guys think. What do you guys think? What state is your favorite live service game in? Is it doing good? Is it doing bad? Are you a part of one of these games that I mentioned today that
not
are
good,
slowly but
terrible,
surely on the rise?
Nope.
I'm happy to be a part of many of their communities.
I like PoE. That's about it.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends.
Hoyoverse,
follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe.
Bye. Family. Oh gosh, that's a good one. There you go. Enjoy the video. Thanks, Legendary Drops, for letting me rant over your video. I enjoy it. Yeah, I don't know what the future looks like. He says, guys, I think it's finally over. I don't know. But I know what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be another 50 like live service games. There's not gonna be like a League answer. I don't think Riot MMO is gonna do great, just based off of things that I've seen so far. But like, maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. I think that era's ending. I think we might actually start getting games again in the next 10 years. And I know 10 years sounds like a long time, and it fucking is, but like, you know, it's better than nothing, I suppose.
Fire, 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 fire.